SpongeBob and Patrick, Joey and Chandler, Shikamaru and Choji. In all of fiction, one series has represented the authentic relationship between two best bros perfectly. That series is Mordecai and Rigby represent a generation. They encapsulate a moment in time when teenagers would yell, "Whoa!" and "My mom!" at any opportunity. When they said "dude" way too much, it was a time when you could turn on the TV and new episodes of Regular Show, Adventure Time, and The Amazing World of Gumball would just fall into your lap. It was a golden era, a truly excellent time to be alive. All three of the Cartoon Network titans that I mentioned were centered around a pair of best bros. The difference between Mordecai and Rigby, Finn and Jake, and Gumball and Darwin is that Mordecai and Rigby are not actually brothers. They are simply bros. These things are not mutually exclusive. Brothers can certainly be bros, and bros can become brothers in every way but blood. It just means that they had a slightly different path than the others. In this lecture on broology, let's go through each stage of their lives and dive into what makes Mordecai and Rigby's relationship so authentic. Mordecai and Rigby are lifelong friends. As kids, they were basically two goofballs always goofing around. Not much is shown of this stage of their lives, but it's clear that they have been close friends for a very long time. When you're friends with a person for this long, you have a certain connection that comes from knowing someone through various stages of their lives. I think this is even more true when the friendship goes all the way back to early childhood. I mean, to know a person in the heart of their childhood is to know them at their purest, as their true selves before anything complicates life. I mean, to know someone before they even know what death is, or when there is no question that Santa is real, all the way through adulthood. You've seen them adapt to every single event in their life, every single piece of information that has changed the way they think or see things. I say all of this to say that the fact Mordecai and Rigby have been close for so long means that they know each other extremely well. They've grown up together, and that dictates a lot about their relationship. In high school, Mordecai and Rigby were both what one might call losers. They had lame haircuts, only really hung out with each other, and spent most of their spare time playing video games. They were both morons. Mordecai was supposedly the smart one, but only really compared to Rigby. He still makes a lot of dumb decisions at this age. Although, I guess that is kind of part of being a teenager. Rigby had attitude and ambition, but no brains or integrity to back it up. They were always together through this awkward high school phase, and they paint an accurate picture of what a pair of bros looks like at this stage in life. After high school, Mordecai goes to art school for a while, then quits school, comes home, and gets a job for himself and Rigby at the park. Rigby was too lazy to even fill out his own application. This takes us to the start of the series, where Mordecai and Rigby are 23 and beginning their dead-end jobs at the park. Mordecai is the smart, responsible one, and Rigby is the lazy, stupid one. It's the same dynamic as in high school, except a little more accentuated. Mordecai has grown up a bit and become a little more responsible, although he's still a kid inside. Rigby has let his ambition take a backseat to his laziness, and his boredom with adulthood makes him act childishly. This behavior draws out the childishness inside Mordecai, leading to some terrible decisions made by the two. This is the dynamic for the first major stretch of the show. Mordecai is always trying to be responsible and act like an adult, and Rigby refuses to do so. This causes them to fight several times, whether it's Mordecai being mad over Rigby being so immature, or Rigby being mad over Mordecai trying to leave him behind by becoming an adult. Often, Mordecai loses his internal battle and is drawn into Rigby's games. The dynamic is exceptionally realistic. Mordecai will go from standing on his high horse about how he is a responsible adult and Rigby has to grow up 1 second, to competing in a lying contest that endangers the entire world over a grilled cheese sandwich. The first scene in The Power is the two playing that wrestling game where they tag out and wrestle the doll. They are totally on the same page when they decide that Mordecai should throw Rigby at the trampoline, launching him towards the doll. It isn't until after Rigby hits the wall and leaves a big hole that Mordecai remembers he's a responsible adult and starts freaking out about what to do about it. Rigby is less bothered, and both of them try to pass the blame before figuring out what to do about it. This sets the stage perfectly for what we can expect from these characters. Mordecai is the smart one because he's smart enough to realize that what they did was dumb and they're going to get in trouble for it. He is not smart enough to consider that before the damage is done, nor is he smart enough to consider something like just covering it with a poster. Rigby sees it as a "these things happen" kind of moment. He's too dumb to realize that there are consequences to his actions. When Mordecai's love life becomes a bigger focus, Rigby is always annoyed about it. Being in a relationship is a grown-up thing, and it's way too much hassle for him to bother with. But Mordecai is always thinking about Margaret, or whatever girl it may be at the time. This leaves Rigby to feel bored and neglected without the attention of his friend, leading to many conflicts surrounding Mordecai's relationship with Margaret. By the time Meteor Moves comes around in Season 4, Rigby is harassing Mordecai into kissing Margaret. He's worried that Mordecai will get stuck in the friend zone because he can't get out of his own way. He knows how much Margaret means to Mordecai, and he knows how anxious Mordecai gets around her. He knows his bro well enough to be certain that he will blow his opportunity without some intervention. So, while Rigby seems super immature in this episode, it really is a leap in character development. This part in the series shows that Rigby has grown up at least enough to acknowledge that this relationship is what Mordecai wants and take it into his own hands to help him out, even if he feels that it's at his own deficit. It's the first sign of a lurking maturity hiding inside Rigby that will be dragged out later in the show's run. Mordecai is sort of taking Rigby for granted at this point in the series, focusing his efforts on Margaret and other things. This is pretty fair though. When your best friend has been there with you every day for most of your life, you don't really wake up every day thinking, thank goodness I have my best friend, you know? Rather, they're just a part of your life, an extension of yourself in a way. Of course they're there. In an ideal world, we would all remember to be grateful and appreciative of everyone and everything that we have in our lives all the time. We should be. But I'm just saying, you can't really fault Mordecai for diverting a chunk of his goofing off time with Rigby into Margaret time. And I think Meteor Moves signifies the point in the series where Rigby realizes that. From this point on, he becomes far more outwardly supportive. He's super clutch in Stake Me Amadeus, and he's right there for Mordecai when he's recovering from his breakup with Margaret. What makes all of this so rich is that Mordecai and Rigby are still doing dumb stuff together the whole time. Even following this character arc that represents Mordecai stepping into the adult world and Rigby maturing enough to acknowledge that it's time for him to step up as well, they're still doing stuff like breaking Benson's windshield with a TV remote and trying to fix it behind his back. They're still doing whatever it takes to get an every meat burrito. They're still changing all of the clocks in the park to the wrong time in order to prove a petty point to Benson. They're still getting into arguments over Rigby refusing to clean his side of the room. This is what makes it all so real. Life is happening all the time. Mordecai and Rigby are both growing up, albeit in their own ways and at their own paces. But it has no effect on their friendship. They're bros through it all, and that is never in question. That's what makes a bro when it comes down to it. Friends may come and go with each stage of life, but a bro is forever. It's someone you can rely on to be there for you no matter what else changes. Rigby in the Sky with a Burrito is the next major development. When Rigby gets an invitation to his first high school reunion, he remembers all the things that he said he would accomplish after high school. His ambition comes back to him and he realizes that he's become complacent. He tries desperately to accomplish at least something on his bucket list before the reunion. Mordecai is unbothered by the idea of the reunion, and he finds Rigby's list to be of little consequence. After all, who really cares if he is skydived while eating a burrito? But to Rigby, it's important. It's what he has to do to prove to himself that he has grown up, that he's not the same kid he used to be in high school. Mordecai helps him out, seeing that it's important to Rigby. This is where Rigby takes a big step in realizing that it's time for him to grow up, and that he's already been growing up. He was just trying to pretend it wasn't true. Now he panics and tries to prove that he hasn't fallen behind. Next comes the CJ era, a time of great turbulence for Mordecai. It starts off great. He and CJ have already established a friendship and they're a good match. Their relationship is easy and natural, and Rigby is happy for him. Mordecai is learning what it feels like to be in a healthy relationship and how to balance that with his job and his friendship with Rigby. Mordecai, Rigby, CJ, and Eileen hang out a lot at this point. Then Margaret returns, and Mordecai ruins everything. He finds that he hadn't matured as much as he thought, as Margaret's return leaves him unsure of what he wants and what to do. In the end, he ruins both relationships in the climactic moment of clarity at Muscle Man's wedding in Dumped at the Altar. An episode that didn't do too much for me as a kid, but became one of my favorite episodes of the whole series later on. He realizes how unfair he's been to both women, and he finally finds where his heart is at. He still makes a fool of himself and everyone else during this epiphany in the middle of Muscle Man's wedding, but hey, baby steps. Rigby has been helping Mordecai along throughout the episode, and he's there for him in the end in one of my favorite scenes of the series. Rigby shows extreme maturity in this moment. He also reveals in this episode that he and Eileen have been happily dating for some time now, but Mordecai was so caught up in his own drama that Rigby never mentioned it. As such, while this episode marks a big moment of character development for Mordecai, it's also the episode that officially alters the scales and designates Rigby as the more mature of the two. From this point on, Season 7 is a gauntlet of rapid character development for the two. Mordecai recovers from his breakup once again, grows from his experience, and learns to have a regular friendship with Margaret rather than letting his feelings for her haunt his life forever. He's a better friend at this time, and he finds himself supporting Rigby's relationship for once instead of the other way around. Rigby, on the other hand, proves to really have what it takes to be in a relationship. He steps up in many ways, he plans big dates and does nice things for Eileen, and he goes back to school to complete his degree and better himself as a person, both out of respect for Eileen and out of respect for himself. All the while, he maintains his friendship with Mordecai better than Mordecai was ever able to do when he was in a relationship. Their friendship has grown with them all along, and they're at their best here. The season culminates in Rigby's graduation day, an episode that serves as the climax of, unironically, one of the greatest character arcs in all of fiction. Rigby has done the thing. He's grown up, he's matured, he's conquered everything that ever held him back, and he did it all while preserving who he really is and being the best friend that he can be. It was a moment that I never would have predicted in a million years after watching the first season, and it's a moment that really elevated regular show to another level. Mordecai acknowledges that he's been surpassed in terms of maturity, but he's not bitter about it. He knows that he has a ways to go, but he isn't trying to rush things like he did in the past. Next, of course, they are sent to space. This tests them in all sorts of new ways, and yet nothing changes. Mordecai and Rigby are still broing down like they always have, and they have each other's backs all the time. Mordecai has what I believe is his last breakdown of the series in another one of my favorite episodes, Stuck in an Elevator. This is his last existential crisis, and once Rigby helps him get through it, I would say it's safe to consider Mordecai matured as well. The crazy finale to the series really emphasizes how the two have been through thick and thin together, and they've always come out alright on the other side. They're both willing to sacrifice themselves in the end, knowing that they'll be going out together and will find each other in their next lives. A powerful sentiment in respect to their brotherhood. At the end of the series, we see the rest of Mordecai's story play out in a brief montage. Rather than going back to any of the relationships from the series, he moves on and gets back to who he is. He returns to art school, he meets his wife, and he has a family. Mordecai's story feels like the main focus for the majority of the series, and yet we only saw a chunk of it really. The most turbulent chunk, honestly. By the end of the series, his character development has been fulfilled. We only get a glimpse of his life after he's truly become the adult that he was always trying to act like, but that's alright. There would be little mystery as to what comes after the series anyways. It's clear that he has broken through the barrier and into a better place. To go back to writing his messy love life would have been a disservice. The end of Mordecai's character arc marks the end of the series. Rigby, unsurprisingly, maintains a healthy relationship with Eileen, and they have a family as well down the line. We don't have a glimpse into the future to see what Mordecai and Rigby's relationship is like between the end of the final battle and the reunion 20 years later, but we can picture it. Their brotherhood has developed so much throughout the series, and it has been consistent all the way. There is no doubt that they have continued to be there for each other no matter what life threw their way. If the series showed us anything, that's it. After all, friends may come and go with each stage of life, but a bro is forever. It's someone you can rely on to be there for you no matter what else changes. I love the best bros dynamic in fiction. It's not about whether the characters are technically friends or brothers, it's about the depth of the relationship, the pure brotherhood vibes displayed by two characters when they're on screen. This relationship can bring so much life to a story, filling it with authenticity and making each of the characters easier to care about. Mordecai and Rigby are best bros. They're two peas in a pod, still they fight regularly and they make it everyone's problem. Their friendship is characterized by slacking off together, playing video games, making memories, and doing dumb stuff. They're there for each other at their highs and lows, their dynamic constantly evolves as they grow as characters, and their major influence has made them the face of a generation. Everyone's path in life is different, but the authenticity of Mordecai and Rigby's relationship is unquestionable. They're the ultimate bros. Several stages of their brotherhood remind me of myself and my own brother. I've been lucky enough to have relationships in my life that let me see the depth of their characters, and I have the utmost respect for the creators for making something so real and wonderful. Regular Show has been and will always remain my favorite show of all time. For the perfect humor, the mundane insanity, for nailing the small things, for the incredible relationships, and above all, for the times that I spent watching the series with my brother. The times we spent playing extreme karting and trying to convince our parents to get a golf cart. For the way it brings me back to myself anytime I need grounding. For the fun nights with friends with the show playing in the background. For our tradition of writing our own terror tales and sharing them with each other every Halloween. Mordecai and Rigby will be with me forever. I can rely on them to be there for me no matter what else changes in life. In that way, they are my bros. And our brotherhood is the greatest of all. Alright, I'm getting carried away here. But seriously, if you've watched this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments what you think about Mordecai and Rigby, and what other fictional bros do you think nailed the dynamic perfectly. If you're looking for more regular show content, we have several videos on the Mustache Cash Stash channel, stuff like making real rig juice, ranking every terror tale, and telling our own terror tales every Halloween. I'm sure I'll be doing more regular show videos on this channel as well down the line. I always come back to regular show. I've been thinking of doing a video comparing the series with the comics actually. Anyways, thank you so much, have a wonderful day, and as always, don't forget what Goku says.